Grab your cocktail and get ready for this episode of the Old Fashion Masonic Podcast. Welcome to the Old Fashion Masonic Podcast, where we talk all things Freemasons while drinking an old fashioned. I'm Brian, and folks, I'm amped. We have a guest that's going to give us some insight that, frankly, most of our followers may not know anything about yet. So it's my privilege to introduce Right Worshipful Ronald Gerac. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Great to be here.
So I already asked the question off camera, so I'll just tell everyone else. He's not seen a damn episode of the podcast. So those who know, when we get to the end for the most important question, I'm going to do him a little dirty. So I already warned him that I got something for him, and I brought a little bit of smoke from our research. So I push all that to the side. So we like to know on our podcast, we like to know as much about the man as the Mason. So I want you to start and just, I want to know who's Ronald the man, but we're not going to talk about Masonry. So who's Ronald the man?
Well, I would tell you that Ronald the man right now, he's a 52-year-old son of a yellow cab driver and a hospital lab assistant / phlebotomist. I really am. I'm a legitimate bona fide widow son. My father passed away in 1992 of congestive heart failure. This is the reason why I eat right and I don't smoke cigarettes, right? So we're gonna keep a lifestyle of healthiness going on. I'm a father of a 16-year-old teenager who is a dual credit high school / college student. So when he graduates next May, he'll have his high school diploma and an associate's degree from Lone Star College. And I have no problem saying my number one most favorite thing in the entire world is to take care of him.
Love it.
He will always be number 2 on my list, just under God Almighty. And I know we're not talking about Masonry yet, but on its best day on my priority list, it'll never be higher than 4. And that's just keeping it real, right?
Yeah.
But he also plays the cello. He's a cellist, and he plays baseball, and he loves F1 racing. Lewis Hamilton is his guy. You cannot say anything bad about Lewis Hamilton to my son, or I will see a side of him that I never thought that I would see, right? Professionally, I'm a behavior specialist at an elementary school. I work with all the teachers, the entire staff. I work on classroom management with teachers. I work with kids in crisis. If they're having a meltdown, something happened at home, somebody ticked them off in class, or they brought whatever trauma they dealt with at home into the classroom. Sure. I'm usually the first responder, as it were. I get the radio call, I go in. If I have to pull the kid out and bring them, love them back to wholeness, as it were.
Yeah.
Through counseling, playing a game with them, just talking with them, and bringing them back to an acceptable level of learning where they can go back and assimilate into the classroom, right the wrong, repair the relationship, and go about their day without a problem. So that's what I do. That's my 9 to 5 with regard to my usual vocation. But that's pretty much it of who I am.
Well, that's a lot. So I want to ask 2 things. Do you watch F1 now because of your son?
Yes, I do. I'm not as avid as he does. There was a race in Hungary this morning at 8 a.m.
I watched it.
Yeah, he was watching it. I was asleep. But I checked in during the last 3 laps. I said, how's your guy doing? He's in 3rd place right now. So I think he finished 3rd today.
Yeah. He made the stand. The stand. So yeah. So I am in the last probably year and a half, because there was a Netflix series about F1 and our kids had turned us over to it. It's like, I'm not going to watch that crap. We love it now. We get up early to watch F1. Lewis Hamilton is not our favorite, so we'll just leave it at that.
There you go.
So my second question is about your vocation. I think it's a great vocation. Do you feel like, has the need for that position increased over the years for whatever reason it may be?
Oh my God. You talk about the question of the podcast. That's like the question of my career.
Yeah.
So if you remember some years ago, there was a hurricane by the name of Katrina,
Yep.
and it did a lot of devastation to southern Louisiana. Well, a lot of those families
Came to Houston.
came to Houston,
Yep.
and the behaviors came too.
Yeah.
So prior to Katrina, my position did not exist. So the student services department is just a little bit of history about my position.
Yeah.
The students, and I was the classroom teacher during this time.
Right.
The student services division got together and they developed a behavior interventionist position.
Wow.
So they recruited classroom teachers who had excellent classroom management skills to be trained for these positions. We were CPI trained, and that's crisis prevention,
Yep.
like to put the
How to hold them, how to take them down. Yep.
So, because if a teacher does it, they can get sued, and we don't
Yep.
want any lawsuits
No.
or anything like that. But the way I came into it, the behavior interventionist, behavior specialist, interchangeable terms, was leaving the district to go to Colorado with her husband. My principal pulled me up to her office and asked me would I wouldn't mind serving as a behavior interventionist for the next year. I said, sure, no problem. What do you want the position to look like? What do you want to do? She said, just take it, own it, and make it yours. I said, say less. I got it. So, but I later found out, I said, well, why did you select me? Because the key component of being a behavior specialist is building and maintaining relationships.
Yep.
So I'm 52 years old, and a lot of you not, if you had a camera on me at work, and what I call the littles, the pre-K kids, the kinder kids, the first grade kids, and some second grade kids, when they see me, they go,
They
and I just go
gravitate.
jumping up and down and clapping, and
Yeah.
I act like a big kid because they like that.
Yep.
And so whenever they see me, they equate me with, happiness, joy, and that's what I want them
I love it.
to do. And also the other side of that is, and I hate to use this word, but it's almost like being a vigilante and getting justice for those that have been wrong. So when the kids see me and the ones that did wrong know that they did wrong, you immediately know who was guilty because they were coward. They were
Oh, yeah.
And so I put on the persona that, okay, this is one thing you're not going to do. You're not going to do this to your teacher. You're not going to do this to your classmates, because what all that equates to is abuse. You're abusing your team. When the kids hear that, it's like nobody has ever told them that before.
You have to real talk them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You're abusing your teacher by the way that you're acting. You're abusing your classmates by talking to them in your kind of way or hitting them. Nobody wants to come to school to be talked to crazy. Nobody wants to come to school to get hit. Do you want? And they'll say, no, I don't. I say, okay,
Right.
well, then let's fix some things. So I bring it to them real. And I don't know if any of my bosses will see this episode, but I kind of go off book a little bit. And I bring real to their lives. And I tell them, okay, this is what it's going to look like when you're out in public.
Right.
It's going to look like this. This is going to be aggravated assault, and you will go to jail. So you need to avoid that. I give them tools, box breathing or whatever tools that they need to calm down so that they can have a better day. And I've turned so many kids around. Let me give you this one last statistic. 2 years ago, and I had an assistant. He left me and went to another school to be a behavior specialist. I'm a little bitter about that, but at the same time, he's a real good guy.
Right.
And if he ever heard this podcast, he needs to know I love him.
I love it.
But he and I were at the head of bringing office referrals down 2 years ago, which is our first year on the campus that I'm on now. And I've been in education. This is going on my 29th year. But 2 years ago, my first year on this campus, that year we brought office referrals down 58%.
That's crazy.
From where they were the previous year. And this past year, my goal was 20%. We did it 28%.
Wow.
So the office referrals have decreased. The teachers are building and maintaining those relationships.
Less disruption in classes.
Yes. Less disruption in class. And the bottom line is And what we do is we use the PBIS model, positive behavior intervention and supports. And the summary of it is 85% of the kids in the school will do what you say. They will follow through on the command the first time. You might have to repeat it if the transmission got jarbled or whatever. Sure. But 85%, you tell me one time, I got it.
Love it.
And then we call those the green kids, and the yellow kids in the yellow section. That's 10%. They may need a little redirection.
Sure.
They might need a behavior contract. They may need a little bit more incentive, and a lot of it is because of the trauma that they may have experienced at home, wherever else. Right?
Yeah.
Where I really dig my heels in is that top 1 to 5%, the red. And those are the ones that are angry for no reason, apparently. Well, that's what they're angry for no reason. They're angry for a reason. There's a why, but we have to dig deep to try to figure out what that why is. So I'm there mainly to service those kids, to let them know, hey, you're not bad. You made a bad decision.
Sure.
But you're not a bad kid, so let's work on that. And it is a lot.
Those will be the ones you save their lives.
Absolutely. And my takeaway phrase from that is, trauma explains their behavior, doesn't excuse it, but it does explain it. And we are the professionals that have to dig deep to figure out, why is he acting out like this? Why is he cursing out the bus driver? Why won't he sit down in the seat? Yeah, he's going to have to get kicked out the bus for a while, because I do believe in consequences. If I go out and do something wrong, I am going to have to suffer the consequences. That's life.
You got it. Yep.
Yeah. So some educational institutions, let me put it like that, they are more kind and gentle, sweet and loving, and which is okay, but sometimes you need to put the book on them. I'm not going to take a kid who just slapped a girl, bring them to my office, sit them down, give them a lollipop, and send them back to class.
Absolutely right. Situation dictates.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, and it's no different. My children, I have 2 daughters, and frankly, I manage them. The expectations are the same, but I manage them differently because their personalities are differently. And that's just reality.
Absolutely. And that is the mindset of what our teachers need as they go into the classrooms. And that's my message to brand new teachers. You cannot teach every child the exact same way as you just illustrated by your daughters. Yep,
absolutely. So that's unbelievable. I think every school in America needs that position, but that's not what we're here talking about today.
Absolutely.
That took me a totally different direction. I absolutely love what you do. That's I wasn't even expecting that. So that's awesome. Now, Masonry. Take us through when you joined, what year you joined, and where you're at today, and what you've done along the way, and then I'll have some questions based off of that.
Okay, great. Good deal. This coming October 23rd, I will be 31 years old in Masonry. Wow. It was October 23rd, 1993 is when I got raised. At the time, I was an undergrad student at Texas Southern University, and one of my fraternity brothers gave me a Masonic application. Said, here you go, I want you to fill this out. And I looked at it. I said, okay. And one of my other frat brothers, older guy, drove me to my apartment because my truck was down at the time. And I said, hey, this is what a frat gave me. He looked at that. He ripped it up. He said, nah, you need to take this one. I said, what's the difference? He said, I'll tell you later. Bottom line was, the first application that I got was for an irregular lodge, okay? One that is not recognized by our mainstream Grand Lodge of Texas, nor Prince Hall Grand Lodge, anywhere.
That would have started off terrible.
It really would have. Yes, it would have. I joined Maple Leaf Lodge number 147, where I'm a past master of that lodge, still a member of Maple Leaf, and just worked my way through the chairs, became worshipful master in 1998. Got Lodge of the Year when it was hard to get Lodge of the Year. Out of 300 something lodges, we got Lodge of the Year. We wasn't even trying to get it.
As a young ass master.
Oh man, yeah, probably the youngest master on record, even to date. And the lodge was chartered in 1903. So
hey, I got to tell you, new blood does a lot of things, man.
Absolutely, yeah. We talked about that too as well off camera, offline. But I became a special district deputy grand master during my second and final year as worshipful master. So I started honing my leadership skills with the lodge and transferring that to the district. And at the time, there were, I believe, 8 lodges under the district that I was helping out. It was 16 lodges total, but they were split because the area was so large. But anyway, started working with that, was a special district deputy for a number of years. And then I believe it was 2006, I became district deputy Grand Master for the greater Houston area. And that covers 3 counties, Harris County, Waller County, and Washington County. Washington County, by the way, is where Prince Hall Masonry was born, here in Texas, in Washington County.
Okay.
Yes. So anyway, fast forward, I was district deputy Grand Master for 16 years, long time. Not the longest serving, but there was a long time. One of the reasons why is because I made a promise to the Grand Master at the time. I said, as long as you're a Grand Master, I'll be your district deputy for this area.
Okay, I can respect that.
Exactly. When COVID came, and I was like, okay, Grandmaster, I need to step aside and let somebody else do this. Let's get some fresh legs on the court. But then COVID hit, and I was like, you know what, Grant, I'm not going to step down. I want to help you navigate us through this pandemic. Did that. So there was about a few more years, about 3-4 more years. And I said, all right, Grant, it's time for me to step aside. I'm going ahead and step aside, and we'll let some fresh legs come in. So another guy came in, and at the time I was the Grand Marshal for the Grand Lodge. Loved that position.
Oh yeah, you get to introduce. That's great.
Oh my God, man, yeah. I miss it. I miss it.
I was Grand Marshal for our Grand Lodge, so I
know okay, all right then. So yeah, you're picking up.
All eyes on me.
There you go. That's right, and all eyes were on me. There's a YouTube video out there of me and a crew of mine that performed an installation ceremony. And I can't remember what year it was, but it's out there. I might send you the link.
So all of our viewers, you go to the video description, look for that link. It'll be in the video description.
There it is. I'm gonna definitely get that to you. So anyway, so I stepped down after a year, still Grand Marshal, assisting the new district deputy. Well, the following year, there was a contested race for Grand Master, and we ended up getting a new Grand Master, which moved everybody up. The Grand Senior Warden went to Deputy Grand Master. The Grand Junior Warden went to Grand Senior Warden. Well, unbeknownst to me, I got nominated for Grand Junior Warden last year in June of 2023. I got nominated, and I think 3 other guys got nominated. So it was a fight to the finish. And at the end of the day, I got the majority of the vote, and I was elected and installed as the Grand Junior Warden. And I just got reelected last month, and serving 12, this makes 13 months as the Grand Junior Warden for the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Texas. And
wow.
And I'm also, and I served this position for 8 years, I'm a past Grand Commander for our Grand Commandery. I served there from 2011 to 2018. And currently, I am the Right Eminent Grand Captain General for the Grand Encampment of Knights Templar. And I mentioned this off camera, the General Grand Secretary for the General Grand Chapter of Holy Royal Arch Masons for the United States and the Bahamas. So, and this weekend coming up, we'll be at the University of Houston in Clear Lake for our youth group, the Knights of Pythagoras, which is similar to Demo Lake. So we'll be at our 25th year. We'll be at the University of Houston in Clear Lake. Every youth leadership session, we take them to a college, a university, and we try to expose them to that to get them geared to get on that path. And I serve as a president of the Board of Regents, while I help them raise money for the organization. I'm also a state educational officer, and we work with the kids on oratorical contests, report card contests, and everything. It's one of the best Knights of Pythagoras programs in the country, and we got them all over, even in the Philippines.
So what you're telling me, you don't really do much in masonry. Jeez,
Exactly.
holy
Yeah.
moly. I love it, my friend. I love it. So now that we all know your bio, everybody that watches, they know what's coming. So
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you this.
Mhm.
If you were master of Maple Leaf Lodge again next year, what would you do what one thing would you do different than what you did in 1998 that you might do now? What one thing would you add? Times have changed, right? So what's the one thing you would do different? Even though you're Lodge of the Year, what's the one thing you would do different?
I would implement line officer training in-house because I did that as district deputy grand master. And here is the motivation behind that. If you go to 10 different Masonic funerals, I use Masonic funerals as an example. If you go to 10 different Masonic funerals, it's more than likely that you will see 10 different versions of it.
Crazy.
And that's not the way it's supposed to be. It has to be uniform from the way that we dress, from what we should wear, what we should not wear, to just standard operations. We kind of chatted about this, and we can go into it in another episode if you like. The cash workshops, the cash model, knowledge, attitude, skills, and habits, and just make that a part of the lodge culture. And if I may highlight just one specific example, in light of what I would do differently, had a conversation with one of the masters who we had a brother that passed away. Years prior, I had implemented what I call a Masonic burial checklist. I got tired of dealing with worshipful masters who really did not know what to do step by step. And different people are feeding them different pieces of advice here and there. So, okay, we're going to stop that. I'm going to create a Masonic burial checklist that's going to list everything that you should do in order.
Simple.
Check box, step, date that you did it, time, just kind of document that as you go. If you follow that to the letter, you can't go wrong with regard to the ceremony. Even has in there when you should go talk to the family, who you should bring with you. If you're not well versed into speaking to the family, bring a seasoned brother with you that's done it before. At the end of the day, you're still the worshipful master.
Sounds like everybody needs this checklist.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I've been to enough Masonic funerals that I've seen just enough that I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, nobody else knows, but we know, and that's what matters, because for folks that watch this podcast that aren't Masons, without giving away any secrets, before somebody joins, we have already made a promise to that brother. And we take that promise all the way through. And I think when we do a funeral, that's our one last time to do it perfect.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. I love it. I love it. So you would implement the lodge training. I like it. When I was master, I said I would do something different, but that's actually a really good one. So that one. So why? Let's talk about some modernizing, because the checklist is kind of modernizing. So off screen, we kind of talked about something. Historically, Masonry is really slow with getting up with technology and with times. That's just how we are. We're fuddy-duddies in a lot of ways, right?
Right.
But talk to me about this real simple story you told me off camera about how you tried to basically modernize something and it was met with resistance just recently.
Yes, just recently. We were in Freeport, Bahamas for the General Conference of Grand Chapters, Holy Royal Lodge Masons of the United States and the Bahamas, the 66th annual session. And unlike most Grand Lodge buildings, where when it comes to voting, you have clickers or you have something to that effect. Well, when you have a convention that moves from state to state and convenes in a hotel, there's almost always never a system like that in place. Yep. So last year, when this conference was, where were we last year? I believe we were in Kentucky. Yes, we were in Louisville, Kentucky. And I convinced the General Grand High Priest at the time, said, if you want this to go fast, let's vote using Google Forms. He said, let's do it. So we called everybody up by delegation, by state in alphabetical order. And they went through the voting process, and we got the results real fast. So fast forward to the Bahamas.
Without human error.
Without human error. As soon as you click the button, and I know most of you viewers know about Google Forms, you just click that slide button that says not accepting any more answers, and then you go to the pie chart, immediately tells you who won. You don't have to do the Bird 1, Bird 2, Gerac 1. That takes forever. So yeah. The new General Grand High Priest in the session in the Bahamas, I asked him for his permission. I said, can we use electronic voting this year like we did last year? He said, absolutely. So instead of one laptop, I had 2 iPads and the laptop that I'm actually using right now.
Yep.
And we had 3 sessions. We had 3 setups back there. I, as the General Grand Secretary, I manned one station. I had a gentleman out of Illinois who did not have a vote. So there was nothing that he could have done anyway. Yep. And I had another gentleman from North Carolina who wasn't eligible to vote.
So proctoring.
So they were perfect. And we just wanted to make sure that because when you vote on Google Forms, there's a option that says submit another response. Right. Well, if you only have 4 votes, or if you have 3 or 2, if you have more than 1 vote, if you have 1 vote, I don't want you to try to sneak in 2, because that's going to throw everything off, right? So anyway, long story short, had an older guy, and we're going to be forever bridging this technology gap from the old to the new. We're going to be forever doing that. Yeah. And so I ran into that during the election process, and when his jurisdiction came up to vote, he said he stood up because there was 2 guys from this state. The other guy, he went and sat down. He's tech savvy. He knows what to do. He was a past Grand Secretary for the California Knights Templar. Okay. And so this guy, he was a much older guy. He was actually a past Grand Master of this state. He stood up and he said, I don't like what we're doing. I don't think we need to vote like this. We need to go to pencil and paper. And
why don't we just go to tablet and stone?
Straight bedrock, right? Straight to bedrock. So between myself and a gentleman from Michigan, we explained to him the why behind it. He submitted, but he didn't like it. Okay. But it's one of those things where the need of the many outweighed the need of the few. So he had 2 choices. One, he could submit and vote, which is what he did, or, which is perfectly legal, you can abstain. That's okay. You can abstain, and you can make it known that you abstain, because we know you have a vote and you decided not to cast a vote. So when the voting is over and the number is 1 less than what the actual number should be, then we know it's legitimate because you abstained.
It's accounted for.
Exactly. So yeah, it took when I say it took a while to convince him, a while with regard to voting while voting is going on. 2 minutes is a long time.
Yeah, it is.
Because guys, they sit down there, and I believe we had, and it was there were 2 runoffs, but we did it 1 office at a time. Something else that bothered me, but we get to that later. It was 1 at a time. So all he had to do was select, I think it was between 2 people, make your selection, hit submit. That's it. And if it's on the iPad, guess what? It's a touch screen. So boop, and you're done, right? Made it easy, because we understand how difficult it is to make that transition. Is one of the reasons why my mom, and I love her to life, why she doesn't have a cell phone now, because she's 82 years young. And when she had a cell phone, she would call me and my other siblings to ask us how to fix this or how to fix that. So we took it away, gave her a landline, and she is happy with that. So
she just wants it to ring and call.
Exactly. So she would be in that top 1 to 5% that I was talking about earlier. Yeah, she needs interventions in place.
But you have to identify that problem.
Absolutely. So, and I repeat what I said earlier, we're going to be constantly forever bridging that gap. No matter how easy we make it for them, we're going to always have to be there, and we have to support them to get them to where we want them to be. And at the end of the day, they'll understand, you know what, that was a little bit easier.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, we just got to get folks acclimated. Men, we're just slow with change, and men that are Masons were even worse.
Even worse, yeah, even worse.
So speaking of men that are Masons, why, as a whole, why aren't more men joining Masonry today, in your opinion?
Excellent question. I think it's a number of reasons. The very first thing that came to mind was COVID.
Okay.
COVID has done a number on not just Masonry, every organization, because during COVID, we found other things to do. Pre-COVID, my Royal Lodge meetings, for example, attendance was, I wouldn't say attendance was stellar, attendance was meager. We had about 15, or maybe even 20 to come and do business. Now, it's 5, 6, 7.
You're struggling to get a quorum.
Yeah, struggling to get a quorum. COVID has made us lazy. And the thing that, and this is what I so-called preach about that, with regard to that, we need to stir the beehive a little bit. We need to take the stick and just kind of hit it and stir the bees up a little bit. But how do we do that? Is what I've always said, even pre-COVID, give the members a reason to come.
Yep.
Now, don't just, in other words,
they're giving up their time. They're giving up their time, which is the most precious commodity that they can't make. Exactly. Everyone can make money. We can't create time. So you're saying if we're asking for your time, we need to give you perceived value.
That's right. A good return on the investment. So in other words, I want you to say, I get to go to meeting instead of I have to go to meeting.
Yes,
There's
sir.
a huge difference with that. And I believe in not so much with COVID, but again, with the lack of training, and there's a reason for that, I believe. And it's a double-edged sword that cuts both ways.
Yeah.
Either, and this is one of the motivations behind those line officer training workshops that I talked about. Either the elders are not teaching and they're keeping that information to themselves, or the elders are teaching, but the rest of us are not taking notes and they're not listening. So, and I'm sorry, I have not met one person that has an eidetic memory. So when we're sitting in lodge meetings, district meetings, when I got raised, when I started coming to meetings, brothers pulled out pad and pencil. They were taking notes in a regular constituent lodge meeting. So when I became a special district deputy and I would go to deputies meetings, the deputies were taking notes. When I go to the grand session, brothers are taking notes. I see a lot less of that now. They're just sitting there, and I know you're gonna start laughing when I tell you this. I see a lot of this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm like,
we've all seen it. I'm a forward follower, but yeah. I've seen it all.
Yeah, but again, the solution is the beehive has to be stirred.
Create that engagement.
Yes, exactly. I often, and coming with my teacher brain, and I'm speaking now from my teacher brain, a lot of Masonry cannot be sit and get. It cannot be sit and get. Like, for example, all right, today, brothers, I'm going to read a lecture, and I'm just basically reading something that could have been an email.
I'm already dozing off.
Exactly. I'm like, no, it needs to be, nowadays, it needs to be interactive. Why? Because we have smartphones now.
Which have reduced our attention span.
Exactly. So we need to move with the times. The lectures need to be interactive.
Fresher.
Yeah, exactly. One of my favorite lectures is the walkabout. As soon as the brother finishes a degree, walk him through and just talk him through it so that he can better understand what he's going through.
Yeah.
That's one of the best lectures. That lecture is worth its weight in gold. It's
Sure it is.
interactive.
Yep.
You know, and it's not putting him on the spot. You're not asking him questions that he better know the answer to. You just walking him through it. Here's where you did this. Here's where you did that. Do you remember when you stood here and you did the crane pose like they did in the movie? I'm just glad we don't do that in Masonry.
And we do the double
Yes.
birds. Yeah, everybody knows that.
Exactly. So, and that embeds in their memory and it helps them to comprehend. And
Right.
again, I approach all of Masonry like I did as a classroom teacher, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I want my students to be, as we say in Masonry, suitably proficient.
Sure. Yeah. I love it. I love that. And I think I agree wholeheartedly. I think part of it too is our message in Masonry is a great message, but the way it's presented is frankly old. It's an old
Right.
presentation of the message. It's not fresh, and it just doesn't entice as many 25, 30-year-olds like, yeah, I'm good. You know,
Right.
so yeah, that's so if you had, there's no such thing, but there is on this podcast. If you had a magic wand and there's one thing you can do to tap that magic wand and you can change one thing in Masonry today, what do we change?
Whoa.
Yeah.
So right now, think about a game show and the wheel is spinning and I'm waiting on it to stop.
Yeah.
The one thing that I would, if I had the power to change one thing in Masonry, wow, so many things, but I'll jump on
Right.
one. I'll jump on one. The one thing that I would change in Masonry is I honestly would look into, I don't want to say admission requirements, but I would look into vetting potential members a little bit. Hope that siren's not coming down my street.
Do you do background checks?
Yes.
You do
And
too.
when we started background checks, I want to say this is 2024, 2019, about 2016.
We were 20, maybe 12. So yeah, not too far ahead. And when I came in, I just assumed I had a background check and I'm good with this. Like, whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
what I say on my application is true. So double check it. Let's start the relationship off fresh.
Absolutely. And what that does is in my purview is, you know, when you think about Masonry in the olden days,
Right.
and when I say olden days, I don't mean like in the 1800s or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just 20, 30, 40 years ago,
Sure.
they would visit the home.
Yeah. We still visit the homes.
Yeah. And I see a lot of that. A lot of those standards have been laxed. So I would, you know, it's not necessarily a change, but it will be a revisiting of one of those old standards, because we allow some shenanigans through the West Gate, and a lot of people, and
Which screws up the brand though, right?
yes, it really does. And my
does.
question would always be, who recommended you? And the people, I always get, why are you asking them that? Because from my perspective, yes, he should be accountable for his actions, but I'm also looking at the person that signed his petition.
Right. Who endorsed this? I agree. We have an episode that our followers can go back on. It's specifically on Masonic Investigations and how we do it and how we think it should be done. But the investigation is only as good as your committee is that's doing it.
Absolutely.
Human element.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you know what though? I'm gonna say this, and we can jump in and jump out. The other thing, the number two thing was probably number one when I think about it. If I had a magic wand, I would get rid of all irregular organizations.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, boom, gone.
Yeah, because it's so many in Houston, and I'm in Houston, Texas. In Houston alone, my last count, there are in Houston 28 Grand Lodges.
You're shitting me.
28 Grand Lodges. Exactly. And, you know, of course, you know, there are only two recognized Grand Lodges in Texas. And that is the Grand Lodge of Texas, where Brother Tommy Chapman is the Grand Master.
Yeah.
And the most worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Texas, well, Michael T. Anderson is the Grand Master. Those are the only two.
What are these other 28 fools doing? What are they doing?
A lot of them get angry and they say, you know what, I'm gonna start my own thing. And that's exactly what they do. They start a LLC or they get a DBA and they call it the Burning. I have bushes in front of me. The Burning Bush Grand Lodge of Texas. Yeah, yeah. And there isn't one like that. But we have United Most Worshipful Scottish Rite Grand Lodge, Hiram Tyrrenian Grand Lodge, Jacob Grand Lodge. And those are just the ones I can name off the top of my head.
I wonder, because you could have, thank goodness you had a good person in your life, you could have unknowingly joined one of those irregulars. So it makes me wonder this: how many of the people that are in these other 28 crap jurisdictions made up are good men that we could have? Probably, I'll bet you there's a percentage of them that it counts.
Let me tell you this, and I call it a success story. And he doesn't mind me mentioning his name. His name is Brandon Bilton. I worked with his dad. He was an assistant principal at one of the schools I used to work at. He joined a bogus Grand Lodge, and unknowingly,
Right.
but he did his own research and he found out that the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Texas is recognized not only by the Grand Lodge of Texas, but by the United Grand Lodge of England.
Right.
So he decided, that's enough. I'm coming over. He's a member of a prestigious fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. And he works for, I believe he works for a teacher retirement system of Texas. And he's also the chairperson of our Grand Lodge's social media committee.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so he's one of those good guys, that we're talking about, and he's in the process of trying to bring, more over just by having a simple conversation. Nothing dogmatic, nothing about you're fake or anything,
Right.
because that runs people away.
Sure, it does.
Yeah, so people like him are the best recruiters to bring those guys
because they've lived it. They said, "Hey, man, I didn't even know."
Absolutely. We've even brought a few from those bogus Grand Lodges to join the Grand Lodge of Texas, and they love it.
See, conversation. So communication is the biggest problem in the world, but it's the number one resolution, right? If you can get in front of someone and we can just talk it out, I think there's not a problem we can solve if both people are listening.
Absolutely. I say conversation rules the nation.
It does. It does.
Yes.
It does. So now, as we go to close up, we're going to close with the most important question of the podcast, Dancing Girl, Dancing Girl. You will see on the screen, there will be 4 things, and one must go forever, and you have to choose one. So on the screen, my friend, you will see Masonry, the Houston Texans, the Houston Astros, and the Houston Rockets. One, I warned you I was going to do you dirty. One of these has to go forever. It was never invented. Now I know I can guess which one it's going to be because I already read your eyes.
Yeah. Then look, right now, today, at this day and time, the answer to that question is easy. It's very easy for me, and I have a rationale behind it.
All right, I'm waiting.
The one that has to go is the Houston Rockets.
No doubt about it. I saw you. Even though Freddie Van Fleet's down there, damn it, he's a Wichita State guy. You can't do him dirty like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't kick Masonry out.
No.
I'm in it for life. I'm married to it, man. I'm 33rd degree. I'm in it for life, right? My son is in the Knights of Pythagoras. That can't go. Houston Astros, we're 2 games ahead in first place. Come on, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's and I'm a diehard Astros fan, as my father was when he was living. And come on, CJ Stroud. Need I say more? Nope.
Hey, so we always like to do a little bit of back end research just to make it a little bit tough on you. I could have made it easy and throw in the Cowboys, but I know where that was going.
Oh man. I would have thrown up on my laptop, man. I'm sorry.
And you know what? And I want to save electronics today. So Ronald, thanks for joining the Old Fashion Masonic Podcast. Cheers.
Yes, I don't have a glass to lift, but I do have one of these.
I love it.
Yes,
Cheers.
sir.